Buddhai, Jai Bhim. May the noble triple gem Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Today we are starting the third series of explaining the path to Sotapanna as per Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra and the Sotapanna Sutra. In this series of Dhamma sermons, I'm explaining the path to Sotapanna using the Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra and the Sotapanna Sutra mainly, and also I'm quoting information from few other sutras such as Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, Ratana Sutra, and the Chutta Sutra. All these sutras I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is now kept at the British Library in London, which happens to be less than 20 miles from our vihara in London. Apart from during the winter, I go there every Wednesday to read that Tripitaka. This Tripitaka has been written down 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away. So that makes it over 2,100 years old. And it has been written down at Alulena Rajamaha Vihara in Kegol district in Sri Lanka. It's written using Sinhala alphabet, so people from Sri Lanka can read it. But it's in the Magadhi language. The language that Lord Buddha used to preach Dhamma. That is very close to the Sinhala language that we use today. So we can not only read it, we can also understand more than 50% of it without a dictionary. But in the British Library, they have two very good dictionaries. So if anyone who can read Sinhala language can use the dictionaries and understand the contents of them. And now, the information that I'm quoting from this old Tripitaka sometimes might slightly differ from what you have heard already from other sources. And if that is the case, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to what I say, take this information home, go through it carefully, analyze it using your intelligence and wisdom, and at the end of the day, if you think that this information is correct, you can take it, make use of it, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you find this information incorrect, you can just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. That is not good. So I kindly request all of you to do the same. First we start with Panchasila, then we meditate for 5 minutes, then I will deliver the sermon for about 1 hour, and thereafter I'll give 2 hours to ask any questions. You can ask any number of questions, but limit the questions up to what we have discussed so far, and also up to Sotapanna level. Don't go beyond Sotapanna level. And also make your questions brief and to the point. You can ask more than one question, any number of questions. I hope all that is clear to you. So let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micchācara veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. As I explained at the beginning, in this series of Dhamma sermons, I'm explaining the path to Sotapanna, the first level of enlightenment. As per Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra, the first sermon that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood. I'm also quoting information from Sothapanna Sutra, Chutta Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, and Ratana Sutra. Now, before I start explaining the Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra, I would like to explain to you first what we mean by Sotapanna, or the first level of enlightenment, and why is it so important for us. Lord Buddha said, if you are born as a human being, the most important thing, the top priority in life is to learn Dhamma and become Sotapanna. Otherwise, you will be in very serious trouble, he said. Let's see what he meant by that. In the Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha explains in detail why it is so important, so vital for a human being to become Sotapanna. Now, before Lord Buddha starts to deliver the Chutta Sutra, he takes a little bit of earth from the ground into his hand and shows that to his disciples who are listening to the Dhamma sermon and asks them, can you compare the amount of soil that I have in my hand with the amount of soil or the earth on the entire surface of the earth? So the amount of soil in Lord Buddha's hand is very little. The amount of soil on the ground is huge, incomparable. Less than 1% of 1% of 1%. So Lord Buddha said similarly, when people die, only a very small proportion of people equivalent to the amount of soil in my hand will go to a better place. All the others, more than 99.99999%, will go to the four hells. Now let's investigate that further and see why he said that. Now, this is how Lord Buddha explains that in the Chutta Sutra. Lord Buddha said, when the person dies, if that person has attained the fourth level of enlightenment, Arahat, then there's only one place that he can go to, and that is the best place, and that is called Nibbana. And it is a permanent place, and there is no suffering. Lord Buddha said there are 31 planes in the galaxy where we live in. Now, Lord Buddha said there are uncountable number of galaxies in this universe. Our galaxy now, according to the modern science, it is called the Milky Way. And this galaxy has 31 planes, according to Lord Buddha. And that is 20 Brahma Loka, 6 Divya Loka, Manushya Loka, and the 4 hells. And out of the 20 Brahma Loka, he said 4 are good, 16 are bad. And out of the 6 Divya Loka, 2 are good, 4 are bad. And human world is average, but human world is the only place where one can become Sotapanna. And I will explain that to you why. And the 4 hells are the animal kingdom, ghost kingdom, in other words, animal loka, yaksha loka, bhuta loka, and the hell itself. Now, this yaksha and bhuta and these terms, you know, there are no equivalent words in the English language. In English language, we simply say ghost kingdom and the inferior ghost kingdom, but it doesn't make much sense. But for people from our part of the world, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, you know, we understand the words better, like yaksha and preta and so on. So those are the 31 planes. Now, according to the modern science, when I was a little boy, I'm 63 years old now. When I was about 10 years old, I remember the modern science was claiming that they have discovered more than 1,000 galaxies in the universe. Then after about another 10 years, they said they have discovered more than 100,000. After about another 10 years, more than 1 million. Now today, they are saying the modern science have discovered 125 billion galaxies. In fact, according to Lord Buddha's explanation, Lord Buddha said number of galaxies are uncountable. The word that he used in his language was asankheya. Sankheya means you can explain, you can express with a number. Asankheya means you cannot express with a number. It's more than a trillion, more than a billion, more than a trillion, more than a zillion, even zillion times zillion. It's more than that. So there are so many galaxies in this universe, out of which we are only one. And our galaxies consist of these 31 planes. In addition to that, we have a sun and a moon. Then there are thousands of planets. Now, most people are familiar with the Namagraha planets. The astrology, there's a science called astrology, ancient science. And astrology uses this Namagraha to explain the karma that we have done, good karma and the bad karma, according to which we have good results at certain times and bad results at certain times. I will explain these things in more detail later. I'm not saying there is astrology in Buddhism. Don't get me wrong. Buddhism is one science, astrology is another science. There are times that Lord Buddha has explained about astrology, but Lord Buddha has said, don't go into these things too much because they will only waste your limited time. I will explain you these things as we go on. So if a person has attained Arahathood, the highest level of enlightenment, he will go to the best place, the Nibbana, which is above these 31 planes. Only those who attain Buddhahood will go to the Nibbana. Now, when you say Buddha, I have seen many Buddhist people who do not know the correct definition of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Buddha means, the word Buddha is made up of two Magadhi words, Bhava, Uddha. Bhava means Raga Bhava, Dvesha Bhava, Moha Bhava. I will explain you what Raga, Dvesha, Moha are later. Then Uddha means completely removed, eradicated. So a person who has completely removed Raga, Dvesha, Moha is a Buddha. Then there are three types of Buddhas: Samma Sambuddha, Pacheka Buddha, and Arahat Buddha. Samma Sambuddha is a person who is born at a time when pure Buddha Dhamma has completely disappeared from earth. So he will rediscover pure Buddha Dhamma by his own effort and teach that to the others. That is Samma Sambuddha. So our Gautama, Lord Gautama Buddha is a Samma Sambuddha. Prior to him, we had, in this Bhadrakalpa, we are having 5 Samma Sambuddhas. That's Kakusanda, Konagama, Kashyapa, Gautama. That's the 4th Samma Sambuddha we had. And there's one more called Maitri Samma Sambuddha. Only 5 in this Mahabhadrakalpa. Now, Bhadrakalpa is a very, very long period. Kalpa is also a long period. I will explain these things to you as we go on. If you like to know more about them, please ask me during questions time. You have 2 hours to ask questions. Then we come to the 3rd level of enlightenment. If a person has become anagami, by the time he dies, he will go to a good Brahmaloka. Out of the 20 Brahmaloka, Lord Buddha said, 4 are good. They are called Suddhavasa, and 16 are bad. So who go to these 4 good Brahmaloka? Those who have attained the 3rd level of enlightenment. And they are anagami. They are called anagami. Agami means returning to the human world. Anagami means they will never return to the human world again. Human plane, if you like. And they are nearest to the Nibbana. And within a short time, medium time, or long term, according to their wishes, they will complete their path to Arahathood and finally go to the best place, Nibbana. Then who goes to the 16 bad Brahmaloka? Those who have been practicing wrong meditation techniques and develop their mind to different levels of status, they go to this bad Brahmaloka. And why they are bad? Because there's no Dhamma there. And also because those people have made their mind blank. You must have seen some yogis sitting for hours and days in one place because their mind is completely blank and thoughts are not coming to their mind. So when they are in that status, when someone has developed his mind to that status, seriously, practicing that for long periods of time, and at the time of death, his mind will be in the same status. His mind will go to a state of being blank. Thoughts will stop coming into his mind. So he will go to one of these bad Brahmalokas. In this bad Brahmaloka, one thing is there's no suffering, but there's no Dhamma, and anyhow they can't listen to Dhamma or practice Dhamma because they don't have 5 senses. They don't have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body. They only have a mind. So they are not suffering, but they will stay there for a long, long time until their merits run out. When we travel through this, through the 31 planes, we always carry the merits and the sins that we have done and accumulated. All of us have that. So those who go to Brahmaloka, they have a bag of merits and bag of sins. It's like money in the bank. So until the merits run out, they will live there without any suffering, but they won't be able to add any merits to that. And once the merits are over, only the sins are left. So they will fall back to the four hells in order to pay for the sins. And once the person goes to the four hells, they'll be circulating between the four hells. That's the animal kingdom, Yakshaloka, Bhutaloka, and the Pretaloka. The animal kingdom, the suffering in the animal kingdom is more than 100 times of the suffering that human beings undergo in the human world. Just imagine the life of an animal, let's say a bird or a monkey or even a tiger. Most of the time, they suffer from starvation because they don't have food when they are hungry. And they have to work very, very, very hard to find some food. And when they are sick, they have no medicine. And most of them, with this, due to the sickness, they will suffer and die. And some of them die due to starvation. And they don't have clothes to wear. When it's too cold, they're shivering, sometimes get sick and die. When it's too hot, they suffer from the heat. And they have no roof over their head. So they have no house, no roof over their head, most animals. So when it rains, they get wet. When it's hot, they're exposed to the sun and they suffer that way. So there's huge amount of suffering. In addition to that, every animal is living always frightened of other animals because other animals can attack them. Apart from certain animals like elephants and lions, all the others are living in fear of their life because every animal, a bigger animal will attack the small animal. So they are living in fear. And sometimes they will have to witness their little ones within few days of birth in front of their eyes being eaten by other animals. Just imagine if that happens to a human being or a father or a mother. If the child is 7 days old and some devil comes and eats the child in front of the parents' eyes, parents' heart will explode and they will die. It gives so much pain. And these animals will have to undergo that on a regular basis. So they are living in fear. So much of suffering is in the animal world. So just compare, we never want to go there. And the suffering in the next world, next level, next lower level is Bhutaloka, ghost kingdom. And that is 100 times worse than the animal kingdom. Not worth talking about it. And the inferior ghost, the Pretaloka, is even 100 times worse than the Bhutaloka. And the hell itself, the Niraya, and that's unbelievable suffering people have to undergo in this Niraya. There's a sutra in the Tripitaka called Niraya Sutra and Devadutta Sutra. In that, Lord Buddha explains how those who go to the Niraya or the hell suffer, it's unbelievable. So we never want to go there. So according to Lord Buddha's Dhamma, the only way we can protect ourselves from the four hells is by becoming Sotapanna. Now let me carry on from there. So I have explained you what happens to people who have become Arahat, the fourth level of enlightenment, fourth and final level of enlightenment, and people who become Anagami, the third level of enlightenment. Then we have Sakudagami and Sotapanna, the second level and the first level. Those who are already Sotapanna or Sakudagami, at the time of death, they will go to a good Divyaloka. Good Divyaloka means they don't have extreme comforts, they don't have any suffering, they have all the necessities to go down the path of Dhamma. So all the superior beings who live there, in these two Divyaloka, they are all Sotapanna or Sakudagami. So all day they practice Buddha Dhamma, and within a short time or medium time or long term, according to their wishes, they will become Anagami and go to Brahmaloka, or become Arhat and go straight to Nibbana. Sometimes, in the rare occasion, it's possible, according to their wishes, a Sotapanna person could come down to the human world for a period, let's say 90 years or 100 years, to perform a certain service and go back. So that is the exception to the rule. Normally, they will also not come back. So there are people who have come like that, and they are called Jata Sotapanna. And from a very young age, they will start talking about Dhamma. There are people like that I have seen, especially in Sri Lanka. I have seen few people. On the internet also, you get them. And young children, from the age of 5 to 10, they start talking about very serious Dhamma, Buddha Dhamma. So that's their previous knowledge from previous lives. Then you have people now who go to the bad Divyaloka. There are 4 bad Divyalokas. That is the people who have been giving a lot of dana and engaging in a lot of meritorious deeds and asking for comfortable life, asking for comforts, asking for money, asking for houses, asking for vehicles, asking for servants, asking for good family, and all that. They keep doing meritorious deeds and ask for them. So they will get them. But they find them, they get them in the bad Divyaloka. Bad Divyalokas are nightclubs. They have drinking, dancing, food, drinking, dancing, everything that people do to enjoy, but there's no Dhamma there. So those superior beings have no knowledge of Dhamma. They just enjoy. They think it's a permanent place. They have gone to Nibbana. They keep enjoying, eating, drinking, dancing, and so on until their merits run out. Once the merits run out, they are left with the sins, and they will fall back to the 4 hells to pay for the sins. Then the next category is people who have been listening to Dhamma and following the Sotapanna path. They are on the path, but for some reason, by the time they die, they haven't been able to become Sotapanna. So those people, most of the time, they will get wholesome thoughts, good thoughts into their mind as the last thoughts, and they will come back to the human world. And they will get a better opportunity to become Sotapanna in that life. On the other hand, there are a few of them, they also get unwholesome thoughts, bad thoughts, as their last thoughts just before they die. And if that happens, they will also go to the 4 hells. Now, Lord Buddha says once a person goes to the 4 hells, because there's no Dhamma in the 4 hells. And those people those living beings in the 4 hells don't have a developed mind. They don't know Buddha Dhamma, and they cannot learn Buddha Dhamma there, and they don't know the difference between wholesome deeds and unwholesome deeds, merits and sins. So all day they are thinking of raga, dvesha, moha, unwholesome thoughts, and they keep accumulating sins. So when they die, they have very little merits left, maybe no merits, and a huge amount of sins. They'll be reborn in the same place. So this will carry on for trillions and trillions and zillions of years, at least 1 kappa, before they get a chance to come to the human world again. The only way they can come to the human world is if they have good relations. And those relations have been engaging in meritorious deeds and transferring merits to them every day, and wishing that they will find their path to Nibbana. Maybe after trillions of lives, they will get a chance to come to the human world again. So make sure that you will never ever go to the 4 hells again. All of us have been there, even though we can't remember, and we will never go there again. The only way to get that insurance or the guarantee is listening to Dhamma and practicing the path and becoming Sotapanna. Believe me, becoming Sotapanna is not difficult. It's possible for everyone. Lord Buddha said there are 4 types of people who listen to Dhamma. The first category is people with the highest level of wisdom. And they are called Utkatitanna. And they take only 7 days to comprehend Dhamma and become Sotapanna. Some of them could even become Arahat within 7 days. Then the second group is called Vipatitanna. They take up to 7 weeks, maximum of 7 weeks. Third group is called Neya, and they take up to 7 months. So all the people who listen to Dhamma, 99% of them fall into these 3 categories. And if they listen to Dhamma, learn Dhamma correctly and practice that for 7 months, all of them can become Sotapanna and protect themselves from the 4 hells. They will never ever go to the 4 hells, even if they live another trillion lives in this samsara, in the 31 planes before going to Nibbana. It's not 7 more lives they have. In some books, they are incorrectly saying that once you become Sotapanna, you have only 7 lives. No, it's not 7 lives. It's 7 time periods that you have to spend after you become Sotapanna. The 7 time periods are, the first one is the time period that you spend on Sotapanna Pala as a Sotapanna person. Then the time period you spend on the Sakuddagami Marga while trying to become Sakuddagami, practicing the path. That is the second period. Third period is the time that you spend as Sotapanna Sakuddagami person. After attaining Sakuddagami, you will spend some time. Then you will spend start your path to Anagami. So that is the 4th time period. 5th time period is the time period that you spend as an Anagami person. Then the 6th time period is the period that you spend on the path to Arahat. And the 7th time period is the period that you spend as an Arahat person before going to Nibbana. So those are the 7 time periods. That's what in Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha says, Nate bhavang attamang ajyanti. There's no 8th time period for that person. So the main advantage of becoming a Sotapanna is that person will never ever go to the 4 hells again. And also Lord Buddha says that person has very little suffering to undergo in this samsara until he goes to Nibbana. Even if he spends another trillion lives in this 31 planes. It's not that he's going to spend trillion lives, because once a person becomes Sotapanna, he will realize the value of it. He feels so happy and so contented, and his problems have gone away, and he will not fear death, and he'll be feeling happy all the time, very confident. That is a great feeling. In fact, I would say that is the greatest feeling one could have in this human world before going further. And once a person got that feeling, then he wants to go to the next level. He will think, if Sotapanna is this good, how good would that Sakuddagami be? How good Anagami be? How good Arhat be? So he will try. But depending on his paramita, depending on his karma, he might be able to do it in a short time or medium time or a long time. That depends on the person. Main thing is the Sotapanna person will not go to the 4 hells. That is the important thing. And he is living happy and he doesn't have suffering. 90% of the time, his mind is happy. He doesn't have worries, suffering. He will have very little worries. He will not worry about his death. He will have no fear of death. Only thing he will worry about is getting sick. No one likes to get sick, No one wants to get sick or being disabled. That is also a form of sickness. So that is the only thing a Sotapanna person worries. Apart from that, he has no other worries, you see, because he knows that he has entered the path. So Sotapanna means, Sota means Nibbana Marga, the Aryashtangika Marga. Apanna means arrived. So Sotapanna person has arrived at the Nibbana Marga, and he has completed the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path, which we'll be talking about in detail when I discuss about Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra in the next few weeks. To become Sotapanna, one can become Sotapanna only in the human world. Because if you become if you go to the four hells, there's no way you can become Sotapanna. If you become Sotapanna and go to a good Divyaloka, then you cannot become Sotapanna again. You can only go forward, you cannot come back. If you go to a bad Divyaloka, no chance of becoming Sotapanna. You will enjoy Kama Sukhallikan Yoga there. The extreme comforts, extreme enjoyment, extreme pleasure until your merits run out. And after that, you, in order to pay for the remaining hells, you will go to the four hells. Remaining sins, you will go to the four hells. Then once a person has become Anagami, he goes to good Brahmaloka and he will not come back. And he cannot become Sotapanna again because he is far ahead of Sotapanna. It's like someone who has passed the master's degree is not going to come back and do university entrance exam again. He cannot. Then those who go to bad Brahmaloka, they will stay there for a long time. Now, in the Brahmajala Sutra, there's a very long sutra called, long and complicated sutra called Brahmajala Sutra in the Tripitaka. In that, Lord Buddha says, please don't get caught to this Brahmajala. Jala is a net. Because Lord Buddha said there are terrible places to go to. If you go there, you will remain there like a statue because you have no eyes, ears, tongue, no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the body. 5 senses are not working. Only one sense is working, the mind. And they will be there for a very, very long time, sometimes several kalpas, before they run out of the merits and fall back into the four hells. And once a person has become Arahat, he will go to the best place, and there he cannot become Sotapanna again. So the only place any living being can become Sotapanna is the human world. That's why Lord Buddha said, Manusatta Patilabo Paramadullabo. The human life is the most difficult and the most valuable to get in that sense, to become Sotapanna. So now we have got that precious human life. We don't know how many trillions of kalpas we have suffered in this samsara, going from one hell to the other. Lord Buddha said when a person is traveling through this samsara, that is the 31 planes, more than 90% of his time is spent in the four hells. Imagine living in the animal kingdom. We can see how much animals suffer, and you can imagine the rest is even worse. So we don't want to go there, right? So the only way to make sure is we listen to correct Buddha Dhamma, practice that path, and become Sotapanna. Then your life becomes, it's like living in a heaven, because you don't worry about anything, right? Average human being worries about so many things. Firstly, they worried about death, then getting old, then getting sick, then how to find their living, how to get the basic necessities. And if they have wealth, they are worried about losing the wealth. What's happening? We live in a human world is always, in turmoil. People think that, the time that we are living in, we are unlucky because of the pandemic and the economic recession and all that. It's always one thing or the other in the human world. It's not a perfect place. If you want to go to a better place, you have to become Sotapanna, and you can go to a good Divyaloka, or even better, a good Brahmaloka, or the best place, Nibbana. right? For that, you have to work. And believe me, becoming Sotapanna is not difficult. Becoming Arahat is difficult, but becoming Sotapanna is not difficult. All you have to do is make a little effort, follow these 10 lessons with me. In these 10 lessons, I will explain the path to Sotapanna. And in the end, I will explain to you how to practice this path. All you have to do is devote 2 hours a day of your time for practicing this path. There are 24 hours of the day. I'm asking only 2 hours. That's less than 10% of your time. And if you can't spend 10% of your time to get the most important thing in the human life, you have to think about it twice. You see, now we spend time, what do we spend time on? We spend our time on, let's say, a person sleeps 8 hours a day because we need rest. We got 16 hours. Out of the 16 hours, we spend most of our time on a child will study, pass exams, go, excuse me, go to university, get a good job, earn money, buy a house, buy a car, get married, start a family, and keep accumulating wealth. Fine, nothing wrong with that. But all those things that he have accumulated, the knowledge, the wealth, the people, all that he will lose in 1 second. When he dies, everything goes, right? The only thing that he can take with him is if he has learned Dhamma, practiced Dhamma, and become Sotapanna. It can be done. You see, all of you can do it. It's not difficult. There's no rocket science. It's a question of understanding the 4 noble truths at the basic level. And then you will come to the correct path. You will come to Sammaditi, right? And you will become Sotapanna. So believe me, if you follow these 10 lessons and practice this path, some of you might within 7 days. That is very rare these days. But 7 weeks or 7 months maximum, you will become Sotapanna. I can assure you, provided you learn the correct Dhamma and you practice the correct Dhamma. All of you can do it, believe me. So the option is, if you don't do it, all those things that you're accumulating, you will lose them in 1 second. The moment of death, you will lose your family, you will lose your knowledge, you will lose your wealth. Everything is gone. So people work all their life to accumulate these 3 things. And people plan, from the day the child is born, parents plan for his education. When the child is about 10 years old, he plans for his education, the future, and so on. That's good. Planning is necessary. But all these events that we are planning are uncertain events. They might happen, they might not happen. But there's one certain event in life that happens to everyone. And people don't talk about it and don't think about it and certainly don't plan for it. Very few people will plan for it. And that is called death. You see, and it is very, very important while planning for other things. There's nothing wrong with planning for other things. At the end of the day, if you are born as a human being, you have to get some education to earn a living. But you don't have to have helicopters and ships and luxury holidays and so on to live a simple life. Simpler the life, happier you would be. You will experience that if you see both worlds, if you know what I mean. If you work hard, make a lot of money and enjoy life, then you change your way of life and come to Sotapanna and start living a basic life with basic necessities, then you will see the peace of mind you have. You will not have any of the worries that you had prior to becoming Sotapanna. So it is very, very important to become Sotapanna in this life. People have no choice but to become Sotapanna. Unfortunately, Lord Buddha said 99.999% of the people, when they die, they will not be Sotapanna and they will either directly or indirectly through the bad Divyaloka or bad Brahmaloka, they will go to the four hells. Now, when I talk about Divyaloka and Brahmaloka, some Buddhist people say, oh, there are no Divya and no Brahma in Buddhism, that's in Hinduism and so on. Now, if you read the Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra, in Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha has given names of 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka, from where the superior beings, 330 million superior beings, came to listen to the Dhammacakka Sutra, out of which 180 million became sotapanna or higher. When a Lord Buddha delivers the first sermon, it's those who are living in the bad Divyaloka and bad Brahmaloka also will have the opportunity to listen to Dhamma and become sotapanna. That's the only occasion they will have. Otherwise, they will not understand Dhamma, because firstly, bad Brahmaloka, they don't have the 5 senses, they can't listen to Dhamma. But in this occasion, they will have all 6 senses working. Similarly, with bad Divyaloka, they will be able to understand Dhamma. So everyone who listens to Samma Sambuddha or one of his disciples who is explaining the correct Dhamma you can listen to Dhamma, comprehend Dhamma, practice Dhamma, and become sotapanna. Now, you can only learn correct Dhamma and become sotapanna if you listen to a person who is already sotapanna. If you want to pass A-level mathematics, you have to go to a person, you have to go to a teacher who has passed A-level mathematics. If you go to a person who has not passed A-level mathematics, you cannot pass A-level mathematics. So similarly, you have to learn Dhamma from a person who has learned correct Buddha Dhamma and become sotapanna. There are so many in the world today. It's not rare, and most people will not tell you. And the reason is, even though a person, you see now, the Buddhas, I explained you 3 types of Buddha. Samma Sambuddha will discover Dhamma by himself and teach Dhamma to the others. Then Pacceka Buddha will discover Dhamma by himself, but he is unable to teach Dhamma to the others. Then the Arahat Buddha, those who become Arahat, and some of them could teach Dhamma and some cannot. So that is according to their paramita. So similarly, sotapanna people also, there are many in the society, they will not tell you, but you can, from their behavior, you can say he's an exceptionally good person, different person. And very few of them can explain what they comprehended, and the majority cannot, so they just keep quiet, right? So you have a golden opportunity here, listening to a sotapanna monk. I'm not boasting about myself. I just want to give you confidence that if you listen to me and if you follow the path that I give you, which Lord Buddha has explained in the Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra and Sothapanna Sutra, I guarantee you, you can become sotapanna within 7 months, right? On the other hand, also Lord Buddha has clearly, categorically specified, if you don't become sotapanna, and your chances of going to the 4 hells is more than 99.99999%. So please, please, please don't go to the 4 hells again. You will not get the chance to come to the human world again for another maybe 10 trillion years, right? So this rare opportunity that you have got by listening to Dhamma, today the correct Buddha Dhamma has correct Buddha Dhamma is there. It had disappeared for 1500 years. After 912 years after Lord Buddha passed away, the Tripitaka, the only correct Tripitaka that was there, was set fire to. And the Tripitaka that is in London now, that was buried underground. I'll tell you the story very briefly. 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away, at Alulena Raja Mahavihar in Sri Lanka, Arhat monks wrote down 2 Tripitakas. One was buried underground and one was given to the Mahavihara library, the only library, Buddhist library that was available at the time. Then 912 years after Lord Buddha passed away, a group of Brahmins who came from South India set fire to the Mahavihara and burned the library. So after 1,000 years of Lord Buddha passed away, pure Buddha Dhamma disappeared from earth. And various forms of Buddhism, a religion called Buddhism emerged. In fact, when Lord Buddha was living, Devadatta broke away with some monks and he started a religion called Buddhism. Now today, if you look at the world, including the Chinese Buddhists, there are over 2 billion Buddhist people living in the world. And out of these 2 billion, only about 5% are practicing Lord Buddha's correct Buddha Dhamma. And all the others are practicing various forms of religions called Buddhism. But sometimes, today, that is because the correct Buddha Dhamma disappeared for 1500 years. But we are very fortunate after 1500 years. In year 2000, this old Tripitaka, which was kept in the British Library, was made available. Until then, people didn't know about it. They made it available for reading in year 2000. So since 2000, it is available. So the monks who are meditating, practicing meditation, and who already Sothapanna saw this in their meditation, they came and took copies of Dhammacakka Pavaththana Sutra and Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra and excuse me, various other sutras and started spreading correct Buddha Dhamma. So about 5% of the people in all the Buddhist countries are following correct Buddha Dhamma now. Even in the UK, I have come across English people who are following correct Buddha Dhamma. But 95% of the Buddhists are following various versions of Buddhism. Buddhism is another religion like Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism. All these religions have taken bits and pieces of Lord Buddha's teachings and made religions. So a lot of things that Lord Buddha said you will find in other religions. For example, Divyaloka and Brahmaloka. If you look at the Hindu religion, they believe in Brahmaloka and Divyaloka, and they are meditating to go there because they think Brahmaloka is the best place. That is what they know. That is what they have, taken from Buddha Dhamma. So just because they believe in the Brahmaloka and Divyaloka, it doesn't mean that we have to abandon that and we have to stop believing in Brahmaloka, Divyaloka. Doesn't matter what other people believe in. What we have to learn and believe in is what Lord Buddha taught, the correct Buddha Dhamma. In fact, the word Buddha Dhamma also given by people, the word that Lord Buddha used to describe his teachings were called cause and effect theory. The cause and effect theory is the most advanced theory that is existing in the universe today. Every Samma Sambuddha discovers this cause and effect theory on his own effort because of the huge amount of meritorious deeds that he has done over trillions and trillions of lives and accumulated a huge amount of merits and wholesome qualities. And in every life, he has been wishing to become a Buddha. So it takes a long time to make wishes like that and then become a Bodhisattva like Bodhisattva Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now, when you look at Bodhisattva's life, it's very different from ordinary people's life. They give up everything and work for the other people, you see. Now, if you read Dr. Ambedkar's life story, you can see that after getting 2 PhDs, he could have got a good job in UK or Canada or any country and lived a good life for himself and his family, but he threw all that away. Came back to India and worked for the underprivileged. He sacrificed his entire life And eventually he paid the ultimate price of, losing his life because he worked for the others. Those are the qualities of Bodhisattva, you see. A Bodhisattva will not tell you he's a Bodhisattva, but if you understand Dhamma, you can work out, you can understand that he's a Bodhisattva. If you are Sotapanna, most of the time, you can understand a Bodhisattva, not by his name, but by his action, right? So I am 100% certain that Bodhisattva Dr. Ambedkar is a Bodhisattva, and that's why I always call him Bodhisattva Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So similarly, there are many other people you can see. They will become a Buddha one day, but to come to that Bodhisattva position, they would have worked for trillions and trillions of life. We know only one life of Bodhisattva Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He may have done those sacrifices for trillions of life to come to that position, right? So every Samma Sambuddha is like that. Now the next Samma Sambuddha that's coming up will be Maitri Buddha, and Bodhisattva Dr. B.R. Ambedkar will get his turn one day. And also there are other prophets who are Bodhisattvas, like Lord Jesus Christ. Now everyone knows that he was a Buddhist monk. I don't know whether you saw the program by BBC in the UK. BBC has made a program called Lord Jesus Christ was a Buddhist monk. And in that they are showing all the proof that he was a Buddhist monk, lived in India most of his time and died in India, and his headstone, the grave, is in India. And he's also a person like Bodhisattva Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He also sacrificed his entire life to serve the people. Only Bodhisattvas can do that. Once again, before I finish the sermon now, I have gone slightly over the time. Before I complete the sermon, I am reminding you again, make sure you spend that 2 hours a day to learn Dhamma, practice Dhamma, and become Sotapanna. You can do it. Don't listen to anyone who says you cannot become Sotapanna in this life. And those things, people who say that because they don't know the path and they cannot become Sotapanna because of their bad karma. There are people who try and try and try, and they say, oh, then we can't become Sotapanna in this life. And that's not true. During Lord Buddha's time, young people like Sopaka, Sunita, Rahula, Visakha, under the age of 16, some of them were 7, became Sotapanna. So today also there are young children like that. I have seen few of them in Sri Lanka who explain correct Buddha Dhamma below the age of 10. And similarly, all over the world, it will be happening. That is food for thought. Think about it. Think about all the points that I talked about Sotapanna, right? And be determined that you are going to practice next 7 weeks, next 7 months. Let's say 7 months target, keep to yourself. You are going to listen to Dhamma, practice Dhamma, and become Sotapanna. And I wish you all from the bottom of my heart, may all of you get the help, maximum help from the Noble Triple Gem Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and also from all the superior beings who are in the good Brahma Loka and good Diva Loka, and also the Manusha Loka. In Manusha Loka also you get Arahat monks. May you receive help, assistance from all of them and become Sotapanna within the next 7 months. Thank you. I'll stop the Dhamma sermon there and give you 2 hours now to ask any questions.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Now, today, by listening to Dhamma and discussing Dhamma, we have accumulated a lot of merits. Now, in Mangala Sutra, Lord Buddha said, Kalena Dhamma Savanang Etam Mangala Muktamang. Dhamma Savanang means listening to Dhamma. Kalena Dhamma Sakacha Etam Mangala Muktamang. Sakacha means discussing. So we have done listening to Dhamma and discussing Dhamma. Not only that, we have completed the 10 major meritorious deeds. That Dana, Sila, Bhavana, I think you understand that dana is giving, sila is discipline, bhavana is meditation. Then transferring of merits, receiving of merits, we are going to do now. Listening to Dhamma and discussing Dhamma, we have done. And then paying homage to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, respecting the adults by transferring merits to them, and Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi means keep maintaining thoughts without raga, desha, moha. So during this time, we all have, to a great extent, maintained our minds without raga, desha, moha thoughts. So we have completed 10 major meritorious deeds. And in addition to that, if you analyze it in detail, there will be hundreds of meritorious deeds that we have completed during this time. So let's transfer them in according to Lord Buddha advice to us in Tilokuta Sutra. First, we will transfer them to our dead relatives, and next to all the living beings living on the 31 planes. Now, all the merits that we have accumulated, we are transferring to our dead relatives. Firstly, I like to think of Bodhisattva Bharat Ratna Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is like a second Buddha to Indian Buddhists, and also Bodhisattva, and then his relatives who have passed away, and also those who have helped our vihara during the past 26 years, our vihara in London, and passed away. And then our relations, firstly those who were parents to us during past trillions and trillions of years, our parents, our blood relations, other relations, friends, colleagues, teachers, even our enemies. Let's think of all of them, all those people who have come across, whom we have met during this samsara and passed away. We are transferring merits to all of them. May all of them receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may all of them be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Idamme nyati nang hotu sukita huntu natayo. Idamme nyati nang hotu sukita huntu natayo. Idamme nyati nang hotu sukita huntu natayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to transfer merits to all the living beings living on the 31 planes. That's the living beings, superior beings living in Brahma Loka, Divya Loka, and the living beings living in the Manushya Loka and the 4 hells. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the 4 Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of it. Ettavata mehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata mehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata mehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, with the power of all these merits that we have accumulated, may all of us be able to eradicate anusaya, the raga, dvesha, moha thoughts that are coming to our mind, as well as asava, the raga, dvesha, moha qualities that we have accumulated throughout our samsara. And by doing that, may we be able to maximize our wisdom to the highest level, comprehend the 4 Noble Truths, first become sotapanna, and finally attain arahathood, and finally attain nibbana according to our wishes. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idamme punya kamman asavakkaya vahan hotu sabba dukkha pamujjatu sadhu sadhu sadhu. Finally, I'm going to ask for forgiveness from the noble triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame bhante buripanya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame dhamma samdiktika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena maya katang achyang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara sadhu sadhu sadhu. I'm going to give you the blessings of the Mahasangha. Abhivadana silissa nichang vadda pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukambalang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti meva ato nibbana sampatti iminate samijjatu bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te. May all of you be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. Thank you all very, very much. Please join us next week at the same time.